We are live.
We're live?
Should be.
We're live. Should be. Hey, what's your wife doing? Can she go like on YouTube somewhere and look?
I can check on that.
So, um, yeah, okay. Um, okay, so, this is a premiere. Like, any, like, major department store, major business, or a mom and pop store, they have a grand opening. And, a movie has a premiere. And this is not a, it's nothing, it's like that. It's kind of like that. It really is kind of like that. It's make a break. It's do I got the right bells? I got the right whistles? Do I have the right target area that I'm trying to get to reach out to? And my area, immediate area, is 100-mile radius, and then it goes to outside to a 200-mile radius. But we reach Sydney, Australia, the UK. I got friends in South Africa, Cape Town, New Zealand, Tina Turner, and her brand new island is beautiful. And so anyway, all over the world, right? Anywhere that the web can go, we are going. So what do we offer? Basically, it's going to be two guys, and we might have a surprise guest, something like that, whatever, someone's like, it's got an issue or has got maybe a new product, a solution to world peace in pocket the whole time. It's like, oh, I know what he has to do with falls on the earth. Something like that. I was talking about daily what or so the says aka.com has over a year I have worked with doctors and interns that work at the hospitals, nurses, practitioners, technicians of heating and energy, anything to do with remodeling. They're even Dickie's barbecue. I don't know if you're aware of them, if you ever had their food on Ronnie Parham. As I used to, when I was released from prison, I worked at Sonic Drive-In, and there was a assistant manager. 2006. I had to work somewhere, and the parole board made sure of it. I met a guy there who's a franchise of Dickie's Barbecue came up to him as an offer, and he bought the franchise, and he set the store up on Ronnie Parham. So he and I are still connected, and so if people go to the website connected to the link Dickie's Barbecue, which leads to their menu, you can pick up curbside. You can't dine in. COVID-19. So you give them the code, the promo code, and it's a meal for one, but it's a meal. So it's kind of me that is over that. Also connected to that is pro bono. He's going to offer you legal help. He's going to offer you the channels to go through. He is what considered. He has a title, and the judges gave him this title. He is one of a kind. It's kind of like the coronavirus is a novel. He's a novel attorney. He's amazing. He got respect from all judges, all circuits, all courts. So he's part of this. And then there's many friends that helped me along the way. And to get to this point, whew, I have gone some.
Gotcha.
I've been talking about this and talking about this and talking. It's like kind of like Noah and the Ark. What the fuck's he building? What an ark? And we're not an ark, but it's where people can come together. There is a chat, uh, the place that people can chat if they want to chat. They get to know each other. You can become a member. It doesn't cost anything. Just your email. There's no. The advertisement is what pays for the website. The premiere kicks that off, where I start or we start to get paid. So that's what it's about.
Hey, Jimmy.
Okay, here.
Well, I'm Shaudes Walker, and
Yes, yeah. Introduce yourself, Justin. Justin, we known each other for a while, and he's got a brain pan. It's like it's deep, a deep brain pan.
And you're
Now
You're
you
Amadeus, right? With loose cannons.
right?
Okay.
I'm the
What is the
one.
website you're talking about?
What the website's talking about,
Yeah.
or which one am I talking about?
Yeah. Well,
It's Amadeus, aka loosecannon.com. It is a where writers can go to write. It's linked up with WordPress. It originated from WordPress as a blogger, and then I decided to go to podcasting because someone suggested that. Alexander Bergeon. And the website is just a place for to go to get information. It's like another hub, another search engine to go find things. It's like Angie's List, but it's got more than that.
and you'll have that website in the notes for the cast, right?
Right. When you log into once it's premiered, it goes on the web. It's like it's already up there. If you can search through Google, you can search through OK Google, Alexa, and another one. I forgot what the other one's called. All you gotta do is just say Amadeus, aka Loose Cannon, or say Loose Cannon. And if you look it up on Google, it shows Loose Cannon's address. Unfortunately, it shows this house. I meant for it to show Little Rock, not pinpoint my house. So I gotta work with that. I've been working with PR and out of Florida. They they've been really amazing. They babysitted me and
Will
told
you
me what.
take my temperature?
Okay, I will. All right. Um. Okay.
So,
So,
oh,
and that's part of life too.
gotcha. So,
Yeah.
for this evening's
Anyway, look.
premiere, what are we going to want to discuss or talk about this evening?
Okay, I want to talk about um. Uh, it's New Year's Eve,
Yeah,
and I mean, we finally got through. This is like the fifth year. This is the fifth anniversary of 2020. It's gone and dragged on and on and on. Although it was quite quick too. I mean, it was like, phew. But when in the midst of it, we were like, when's this shit going to end? Because something else came up, and something else came up, and something else came up, and then Trump. That was just a little bit of cream on the top. That was something else that we could deal with, and then hit.
yeah. Well, speaking of end of the year, with the time that we are recording right now, it'll be New Year in about what, 5 hours and 5 minutes, I guess.
It's that close. It's that close. I couldn't. I mean, I can't wait for it to be 2021. And what is it going to bring? Well, what are we going to bring it? What can we offer it? I mean, we
Yeah.
got to leave something behind, and we got to leave
Well, I
something
mean,
behind. And
as
I love
far as
people.
as far as the upcoming New Year's concerned, there are a lot of things that are looking encouraging. Because I mean, we do
Such as
have all those vaccines that are coming out. The one by Moderna and Pfizer, and I believe there's a third one in
right,
development also. But I mean, as more
right, and
people get
yeah,
vaccinated, that's definitely going to improve the situation for everyone. And hopefully by about mid-year next year, we'll have gotten enough people vaccinated that we can start lightening up on the restrictions that are going on.
right to wipe out that. As I understand, the vaccine we currently have offered knocks out that strain of COVID-19. Now, England says they have a new strain, the UK strain,
Yeah,
which does that make the vaccine that we're taking effective to that? I'm not understanding that.
they
Does
don't
it
know.
take
They
that one
don't.
out?
Yeah, they don't know yet whether the existing vaccination is going to be effective against this new strain or not. But I believe the preliminary research is suggesting it should still be effective against it.
effective against it.
Yeah,
Well,
but only
it
time
should.
will tell.
I mean, they say this one is more contagious. It's more this and that. Um, I get gels, cough and gels a lot because my name is on by every phone in every pod. If you need help, call this guy. You wouldn't believe how many people call this number. You wouldn't believe how many times I've called the jail administrator and said, please pull my name off that wall. Anyway, so we have this the University of England. What is it called? What's that one called? They also have a vaccine that has been working with the Moderna, not working with, but they say they got the cure. So anyway, so there's so many. I don't think that vaccine is going to make it to America. So the one we got on this dirt in America, Moderna, right? No, Pfizer.
Well,
Pfizer.
both. Pfizer's the
Okay,
vaccine
both.
that
Which
has to be like stored at like minus 60 degrees
and you
freezing.
got to take two shots.
Well, both of the Moderna and Pfizer, you have to take 2 shots. But the Pfizer one has to be
Oh,
stored at like minus 60 degrees. The Moderna one, I think, needs to be stored at like minus 20. So the Moderna one is probably going to be the more popular one just because it's easier to distribute than the Pfizer one. Um, as far as effectiveness is concerned,
uh,
they both appear to be about as effective. So not one's not better
oh
than
yeah.
the other per se. It's just one's going to be easier to distribute than the other.
Um, the FDA is going to open. This is going to open up a whole can of worms. The way we got this vaccine so quickly, and then they found out other things as they was working on this vaccine for this SARS COVID-19. The things that I think it's things they have to disclose now in their researches before this about Alzheimer's, about certain types of cancer, about certain uh, bone degeneration that I think they've had for a very long time, and now they're going to have to expose those things because of the rapid research to get this vaccine. And that's just a thought of mine.
Okay,
Um,
well, I don't
but it,
I don't know quite what you're talking about regarding that. I mean, as far as, concerns about how quickly this vaccination was developed, it actually, the groundwork for it has actually been in development for about a decade or so as they were working on, um, as they were working on uh, what's called your messenger RNA vaccination. And the
right,
messenger RNA vaccination, basically what it does is it's putting a little RNA program into your cells that will degrade after a little bit, and it's telling your cells, hey, we want you to make this protein, which is part of the virus that's we're having problems with, and when it makes it, it educates our immune system to look for this protein. It's not looking for the whole virus, just as part of a protein that's on the surface of the virus. And this
right,
technology, they were
right.
actually working on developing it to make the flu vaccinations faster to develop and to turn around. So that's why it was able to be developed so quickly, is because that technology was already there. It hadn't really been tested yet. And this was the best opportunity to really test it and see how effective it was at getting a quick turnaround. And as far as
Um,
side effects and other things, from all the research I have gotten my hands on, indicates that the side effects are pretty typical for any other vaccination. There's none that have really stood out as being unique to this particular vaccination. I know there's been some talk
right.
about facial paralysis I think they call it something palsy. Um, but in the study groups, it was not occurring any more often than in the normal population, which would suggest that it's not related to the vaccination itself, but that if you took in that same group and done nothing to them, those individuals would have still developed that facial paralysis. So, um,
Okay.
there's a
Is
lot of
that
things.
is that is it like African American is happening to? Is it Mexicans happening to? Is it Anglos? Those side effects, the paralysis. Is it a certain type of people that gets those side effects, or does everyone in this test study get those side effects?
Okay, so
Is
the
what I'm trying.
facial
That's what.
paralysis, the palsy, whatever they call it, um, its occurrence in the test population was occurring at the same rate as it does in the normal population. Okay,
Okay.
so that's not meaning that it's occurring, it's causing it. It's just like if you have 1,000 people and during this time one person dies in the population, and you have 1,000 people in the test and one person dies, it doesn't mean that the vaccination caused it. It could be that that just happened because it was going to happen, whether they received a vaccination or not. That's one of the reasons why they have to do
Yeah,
such
I mean,
large numbers in vaccination groups, is so that they can tweeze out, okay, is this effect that's going on? Is it something normal that in a normal population is going to occur? Or is it
I
something that's occurring at a higher rate than in the normal population? And if it's
see
occurring at
that.
a higher normal rate, then they can take a closer look and say, okay, is this something that's really related to the vaccination? Or is it something associated with any type of pre-existing risk factors that they have? And typically they'll try
Right.
to eliminate as many risk factors as they can when they're doing early on in the testing. But then as they open it up to more and more participants, you start to have more risk factors involved. Um,
Right. Other variants. Variables are variables in anything.
yeah,
In
that's
everyday life is
that's one of the reasons why they're saying that if you have a history of having bad reactions to vaccinations, that you probably should not be getting vaccinated. Um, and those are really the only reasons
what
why
do those
you shouldn't, is for a medical reason. Um,
what do those people do
well, the people that
against
don't
COVID?
get vaccinated because they can't, because of medical reasons, they're relying on herd immunity, which is relying on you and me and other people getting vaccinated
Okay,
so that they don't get infected, so that they don't infect the people that can't get vaccinated. So whenever you're vaccinating yourself, you're not only protecting yourself and your family, but you're also protecting the people that cannot get that protection.
I understand. Yeah. And people should understand that. A friend of mine said during the infancy of COVID-19, it's a natural selection. It wasn't man-made, and it's hard to prove. Uh, Evolution. We're evolving. So many people said that about COVID, why COVID-19 happened, and the natural selection. Now, when we take the vaccination, is that, friend asked, is that evolving our bodies? Is that mutating our system? Is it helping us along? What would you call that?
Well,
It's not God's word.
I wouldn't call it mutation or evolution. I would call it more like education. It's educating and
Yeah,
training our immune system to say, hey, when you see this, you need to react to it. Um, it's not
like
mutating or evolving us. Evolution has to do with populations, not individuals. Um,
um, the mm, see, I when I have some people that would love to jump in on this one, that like that it would show a mutation. It would show an evolutionary step in the human body not by God, not by nature, but by man. But and then those people start talking about the green man that lives in their shack. So I don't know. I don't know if they're credible or not.
Okay.
But it's how their convictions are, how they talk about it, how passionate they are about those things.
Yeah.
The natural selection thing when COVID-19 hit, well, when polio hit, and a lot of people died, and the plague, the dark plague, black plague, and rats. I don't see how that was. Oh, I don't see how that was natural selection by a rat. But so now we have the vaccination. Um, now Biden and Trump, they're like two different worlds. I don't I don't I don't think they talk to each other. I don't think this transition thing is really working out. Trump is still campaigning. He wants, someone to take over the House and set up his party. I understand that, but it seems like his campaigning and his failure to transition has caused so many things to slow down. He's done a lot of good things for us. He has. Um, um, I gotta take this one. I really do. I gotta take this one. But hey, people, this is just how it is. Hey,
Well, I guess
hey,
I'll
I'm on the
chat
air.
a little bit while you're on the phone.
Okay.
So, like I said, I'm Shaudes Walker,
Okay,
and
I'm on the air.
giving Amadeus a hand here. Um, One thing we need to keep in mind, Amadeus, is that with the format we're using Discord right now, so that in the future, when we have discussions like this, you could have more than just one person in the discussion.
Okay, okay. I'm so glad you said it because there is some people that I want to add right now,
Yeah.
and they're seeing it and like, how do we add that? I guess we'll talk about that later in the next one up. Because
Well, if you set
I'm
up,
gonna next time
if you,
I
yeah,
need your wife over here next time.
yeah. Well, if you
You
set
stay
up
there
your
and she can.
Discord channel, you can have multiple people in a room discussing stuff, video with voice or voice only, along with having separate
Yeah.
channels for discussion. Um, but right now,
Hmm.
we're not using that. We're just
I
doing
like
direct
it's just me and
conversation.
you, right?
Um,
But we're not able to right now. Are we able to share or invite?
Let me check and see. We might be able to add somebody to this, or we may have to start
I
a
kind of want
separate.
everyone. Well,
Yeah. So, thing.
so I mean, I want others to know what we can do. Like The Voice. They
Yeah.
got 1,000 people behind them. From I don't know how they get invited to get to see The Voice. It's like it kind of like a panel, and I want everyone to be able to say something, not just two old guys. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying you're
Well,
old. I
well, with
am.
this setup, I believe you can have up to 10 people on the Discord at a time. Um,
Okay. And so they had to invite them to the YouTube or invite them. They had to have the apps, right?
well, they need to have a Discord account, and then if you have their Discord name and number, you can invite them in, uh, both to your
I'm, I'm
server, your Discord server once you get it, and to any special thing that we're going on right now.
um,
See
so we
here.
can add that to the description of this broadcast of
Uh, yeah,
where to go to.
once you have your
Link.
Discord server set up, you can set up a link that you can include in your notes for the YouTube video, where they can select on that, and that should take them to the Discord server where they can join in.
Okay, cool. Um, and that's just discord.com.
Um, when you create the server, you'll be able to create a link that you can copy from that into your notes for the video.
Yeah. It's self friendly,
Yeah,
cell phone
yeah.
friendly. Also through Google Play
Discord's very
or
cell phone friendly.
the.
That's how I use it most of the time.
Oh, cool. Um. Oh, wow, okay. Zoom. I can't get Zoom to work on my phone. I don't know what the deal is, but I can't get Zoom to Zoom for me.
I'm not familiar
So,
with
but
Zoom.
I uh, snaps to you. This is snaps to you. I had no. I when Alexander was here, he was the tech end. He was. I mean, I have ideas. He had ideas. I had one thing he didn't. I had money, and I knew I wanted to do this. But when he went to North Carolina and was trying to jump back and forth North Carolina, Arkansas, North Carolina, and do his personal things, the Sky Miles was eating up. So anyway, so he met someone and he couldn't be part of it. So then I've called, I don't know, 20, 30 people and to get them to do this, and a lot of them couldn't. They're too busy. They didn't want to be filmed. They did, or videoed. And but then I really had no clue about this. How to stream it, to go through YouTube. That's going through WordPress and to be broadcasted for everyone to see. And finally, it was like, I mean, I was in tears last night. I had to go buy a new camera because I was throwing my camera across the room and I was cussing and I was breaking things, and it's like, if you haven't bought a website lately, they're not they're just not cheap. And then you got the things you can do to it, and that costs a little bit more. And then a plug-in that costs a little bit more. And you think you just get a website, then you got to make it work. You got to put electric windows in or a radio in. You got to put a carburetor in. You got to put all these things together to make it work. So anyway, I was going to trash the whole thing, write it off on my taxes. Listen, we should have tuned taxes for 1776. But then I couldn't do that. They wouldn't let me write it off. So then you come up with an idea, and it's working. And I so appreciate it. I so owe you. I really, really, really do. So I'm gonna treat you to Jackie's barbecue. I can
Yeah.
do that.
Well,
But
I'm not,
we know each other. Our friendship, it goes back to a certain company that you work with that used to do work
well,
here.
Amadeus, you
And
forget, I know you from
oh my God,
back when
yeah,
Backstreet was still around,
yeah,
all the
I
way back
know.
there. That's how we originally knew each other.
Um, but those were kind of that was a I really loved that time. I missed that time,
Yeah.
and the way people met, and that wow, the memories. Yeah,
Yeah,
the memories.
Backstreet
Friend
was
of
a cool
mine.
place.
Yeah. So then he reappeared in my life through a company that you work for, and and you've been to this house. You know this house. You have seen some shit, heard some things, and you never batted an eye. You just, you know, that had nothing to do with your job. That had nothing to do with the company. That had nothing. It was just that's how it is there, and you got to go home at night safe. So
I've seen Stranger Stuff
I
too, so.
remembered. Yeah, well, yeah, you said that. You've seen Stranger. I'm thinking, what the fuck did he see? Stranger than this. Wow. I remember. Do you remember the instant where the house was shaking and only Jimmy could feel it? The vibration, and only Jimmy could feel it.
Uh, yeah, I think I actually did
And you
find out.
chased.
I think I did find out what that
Do you think
was.
he did?
But I can't remember.
Well, I know why. It really wasn't mechanical. It really wasn't. Uh, Now, I'm not saying anything that people don't know about Jimmy already. He's manic depressive, and he takes certain medicines, and lithium's one of them. On a high level dose of lithium, actually taking too much, you become so sensitive and in tune to your surroundings, including sound and vibration. He was the one that was vibrating. He was the one that was hearing it because I was like, I don't know, I don't feel it, I don't hear it, but he could. Once we got that lithium level down, he was normal again. So the vibration thing, we changed out air conditioner unit, a motor, just everything, and it was a chemical level inside of him that was off, sensitive to things around him. But anyway, so I remember that story. I remember the whole. It was that for days you were like camping out here trying to find that vibration. And I mean, it would go on way into the night. And I remember walking by or glancing down at you at the sidewalk, looking at schematics and then looking at schematics, and it was like it's something I would always remember about you. And I don't. Then I also became fascinated with your belief, your following,
Hmm.
and I really would not know as much about it if it would had not been for you. Then I would look it up and I researched it, and then go to your Facebook page, and then find out some things about there. And wow, I absolutely you love your group, you love your gathering, and I love my gathering, being a Buddhist. And but it's so how did that come into 2020? How did Buddhists come into 2020 when we had the Christians? I'm not picking on the Christians, but the I don't know how we're still here. And that's all I'm
Well,
gonna say about Christians and religion.
yeah. Well,
But
so
yeah, I,
so Amadeus, you associate yourself mainly with Buddhism, is that right?
yes, Buddhism,
Okay. Yeah. And
Hindu,
yeah.
Zen.
Well, my faith is I would refer to as like potpourri. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I strongest association is with paganism. Um, but
Right.
the biggest thing that has affected us is that we're used to um, gathering about 8 times a year in big groups for our holidays,
Mm,
and it's for some of us it
yeah.
has been a struggle uh, not collecting in those groups to celebrate. Um, but also with paganism, there's a tendency because of the way paganism is viewed and persecuted in society. We tend to, have to be secretive about it. Uh, Otherwise, people would react in unreasonable ways, call us devil worshippers and stuff like that, which is not what we do at all. Um, some of the most
They're not educated about it, versed about it. So I
well,
think they should know more about it.
well, a lot of people are miseducated because the church and the Catholic Church, the Christian churches in general, have deliberately demonized our faiths. I mean, in fact,
Demonized, right?
yeah,
Demonized.
demonized, literally, because I mean, like the devil, for example, that you hear people talk about in church. If you look at the modern description of him with horns and hooves, you know, that is actually taking one of the gods that we believe in and turning it into something evil. When in reality, the gods that we worship, are as close to nature and the natural processes of the world as anything can be. You know, I mean, procreation, life
How
and
did
death,
it?
all of that's in. You're saying something?
I don't know how they came. Lucifer, the idea of Lucifer, who was the most amazing, beautiful angel God loved, and then turn him into horns and hooves and all of that. That's what's always confused me about church and
Well,
pagans.
that
How
probably
did
goes,
that transformation?
yeah, well, that probably goes back to all the stuff that was involved in how the Christian faiths were converting the pagans over to Christianity. And the Catholic Church is an excellent example of how it was done. Uh, and in some ways, as suspect the Catholic Church for a lot of our practices that they preserved by adapting them into their faith. And we've been able to go back to those and go, oh, this
Right,
is what this originally was for. Thank you for holding on to this. We're going to take it back to ourselves and do with it how, try to find out how it originally was. Um, so a lot of the saints in Catholic and in Catholicism, uh, a lot of them are actually derived from gods and goddesses in the pagan pantheons. Um, you know, pretty much every single holiday except for Thanksgiving is a pagan holiday of some sort. So Easter, for example, is Astara.
Easter. Easter is my favorite one
Yeah,
to uh, the contrast about the bunny and everything.
yeah, the
Easter
bunny,
Christian, Easter pagan.
yeah, the bunny and the eggs. That all comes from our the traditions of Astara, with the egg and the bunny both representing fertility because it's one of our many many fertility holidays. Uh, and you might go, oh
Yeah, you can
wow,
imagine.
fertility, but I mean, when you're agricultural society and you're relying on the crops to grow and be fruitful, that's all about fertility.
Right,
Um, and that's what most of our 8 holidays is associated with it. There's basically 4 fertility holidays and then 4 harvest holidays because you have different times of the year that you harvest different things. You have your grains for one holiday, you have your gourds for another, you have your apples, you know.
right.
So,
How about Valentine's? Cupid.
well,
Do you
val
have Valentine's?
that occurs around the same time as our first fertility holiday. Um,
Right.
which is actually February 1st for us, actually, but I think Valentine's is about 2 weeks later. But the themes are very similar. Um,
The
if we were
saints.
wanting to
The
really talk
saints
about some
are
stuff like that, I'd have to do a little bit more deep down research first, because it's been a while since
yeah.
I looked into that stuff. But I mean, the two most famous holidays that are most recognized are Easter and Christmas. Um, I mean, we've
Yeah.
already talked about Easter. The rabbits and the eggs are representing fertility, which is where those come from. And then
I have
Christmas,
a bigger come.
you know, it's as we know, there's a lot of different faiths that have a holiday around that time period. For us, it's typically
Right.
referred to as the winter solstice or Yule. You've heard of a Yule log? That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
The Christmas tree, most of its origins are actually Germanic in nature, uh, in Germanic pagan traditions. Um, and then you have Santa Claus and what's the Krampus, yeah. Krampus and Santa Claus both come. I think Krampus is more um, uh, Northern European in origin. Um, but if you all of
Okay.
the mythology behind them has evolved greatly over the centuries and even in modern day, because there wasn't really a true
Right.
Santa Claus until I think Coca-Cola made it a big ad, and then Santa Claus became known as the white beard, red, overcoat guy. Before then, his image was much different than it is now. So,
So he became an icon around Christmas time. He's not biblical. He's just an icon. He's a good seller of things, uh, and
Well,
he can sell
Coca-Cola
almost
thought so
anything.
anyway.
Right? Yeah, he did have a really good job. And cocaine, it helped Coca-Cola too. I, I
Way back in
was
the
told.
day, that's why it was called Coca-Cola.
The real
They don't do that
Coca-Cola.
anymore, though. Ever since the
Yeah,
beverages laws and
it
stuff
became
got passed decades ago.
it became addicting somewhat.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Uh, so now we got these stimulus packages, and when I look at other countries and what their country governments are doing for them, I can't believe how far behind we are. And I can understand. I think I understand why, but why it's happening is it's government. Our government, from the very high to the ones in between, and the voter. I mean, it's really screwed things up here. And we have a leader, Trump, Donald Trump. We have a leader that had no clue. Well, who did have a clue that this was going to happen? How to manage it, and then you have to be on a scramble to find a team that knows enough about this and that to make an argument to make it it's like to the people and that this is what it is and this is what we got to do. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want his job. But he's a financial guru. He's good at that. And but so the stimulus package, the first one we got is $1,200. That's a single. I think $2,400 for a family. It's been a long time since we got one. If you owe child support, then you didn't get one. This time you do get one if you have child support, and I have proof because it is. I got this notification from direct deposit that I have $600. So, and then, but look at the time lapse and look at people that had to pay rent, car payments, insurance payments, incidentals, food. How that? How long did that? If your household got $1,200, how long did it last the first time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, fortunately for me, I'm in a job where I'm an essential worker. So when all this COVID stuff started,
Right.
it really didn't impact us. Um, I've stayed
Okay.
regularly employed the entire time. So, the biggest thing for me as an individual, since we're not completely devastated by what's been going on, is I've used it to get better control over my debt, for example. You know, so if you can pay off some
Right.
of your debt, then you have more money to work with. Um, that's
Do
what
you know
we.
anyone else that? Do you have any friends that were not essential worker and what their lives became?
Um, Not really. My son-in-law and his wife, they work in the service industry, fast food, type stuff. Um, and I know that they've had issues, but they've been managing. Um, but it's been difficult. But I don't think that they were as bad off as a lot of people have been. Um, but I
I
mean,
know some
it,
families
I mean,
that.
if you're talking about, how this pandemic has impacted our economy and individuals, the first thing that it really, makes apparent is that the people that have money aren't the ones that are suffering because they have resources that they can dip into. You know, um, I'm considered relatively well off, but I'm still a paycheck to paycheck household. You know,
Mm,
um, and most of America is. So I mean, if you miss a
yeah.
single paycheck, that could be potentially financially ruinous to you. I mean,
Absolutely.
if you are unable to pay your mortgage or your rent or the or your your insurance or you know you may not even have money to eat. I mean, that's one of the reasons why all the food banks have been having such a big demand on them is because of that. Um,
The rice dip here, the number one crop in Arkansas is rice. The number one crop. Rice Depot here, which has been renamed recently, no longer the Rice Depot, ran out of rice. But the barges that were going down the river were full of rice, which went down to the coast, got loaded
yeah.
onto cargo ships, went to China. What the fuck was that all about? Oh, we
Well,
don't have any food here in America. We don't have rice, and we send all of our rice to China.
yeah. Well, for Arkansas, um, China is one of our biggest exports when it comes to rice. Um, that's
Hmm.
one of the reasons why when the present administration started the trade war with China, um, it has had a lot of downstream impacts. Uh, and it's hard to say if we
Good.
are in a better or worse position now, 4 years later, than we were before he started it. Um,
Yeah.
most of the
That's
stuff that he was complaining to China about mainly had to do with more tech stuff, is my understanding, which
yeah.
was perfectly reasonable
So,
because China has a tendency to steal intellectual property of uh, companies coming from other countries, and then making it cheap and then selling it back inferior quality often, um,
yeah.
with their with um, uh,
So the ripple effect from that embargo or the trade war, trade deal with Trump.
yeah.
So do you think that it turned out it turned out better than people thought? When he put the screws to them, some people said they put the screws to them and going to make China do this, and everyone said China's not going to do that. Then China did do it. I mean, but I think it was a good thing. I mean,
Well, it
he,
definitely was a mixed bag, and
yeah,
it's really hard at this point to say if we are in a better position or not. There definitely were a lot of industries that were impacted. Um, and when COVID hit and all this other stuff happened associated with it, if anything was struggling as a result of the um, trade war that was going on, that might have been this, the straw to break it. Um, but I mean, there's also the possibility. I mean, when he started the trade war, it showed how vulnerable our supply system was because we were relying on a single country or a single, source
right.
of goods for certain industries. Um, so that may have made it a little bit less difficult when COVID started because we may have already dealt with some of those issues. Um, but it's
Right,
going to
right.
probably be in
Yeah,
10 years before we'll really know if it benefited us or if it weakened us. Um, Anybody that says right now that they know what's
yeah.
going on, I don't think they really do.
They, I know a few things. My portfolio is excellent right now.
Yeah. By the way,
Even when
Amadeus,
COVID,
um,
right?
your video
We got
signal has
time
cut
limit.
out on us. We're not getting a good signal.
Okay, yeah, that helps. I think because we have guests in the house and they're downstairs and they all fired up their they fired up their devices.
Yeah,
It seems that way.
that can do it.
Is it a bit?
If they're hogging
Yeah.
the bandwidth,
Okay. Well, I want to just touch that thing. Okay, so we know in the past it didn't take but a flat of fart, and gas prices I mean, they would jump around from $3 a gallon down to $2 a gallon to $4 a gallon down to $2. Gas prices have stabilized. It's really weird, kind of odd and eerie about that. That's part of my portfolio though, and I'm glad it did.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
uh,
mean, w-
so many like the stock market. Not once is the stock market at the beginning of COVID, they kind of got scared. But then it's been in the last 4 years, I've never seen it so stable in my whole entire of investing. It's incredible how I can make good decisions on where to move money
yeah,
because of I hate to say it, but it's because of Trump. It has to be because of Trump. It has to be. Because in the Bush years, the Clinton years, you didn't know where the fuck the stock market was going to go. You didn't know what to invest in. But it's been so stable, and it's been a pleasure these 4 years.
yeah,
It really has.
yeah. Well, I mean,
And
there's a lot
gas
of
prices
reasons. There's a lot of reasons why gas prices change as much as they do. You know, part of it is
not like
demand, part of it is supply, part of it is the ability of the manufacturers to make gasoline, um, and and some of it probably is them deliberately, manipulating the market also, which we know does occur.
yes,
Um, and I think part of
yes,
it,
it was
well, I
manipulated.
mean, back in the day, it was $1 a gallon, and then it shot up to about $4 a gallon, and then it came back down. I think a lot of that variability that was going on was the suppliers trying to figure out how much more money they can make, and the market handled it, and they found that $4 was too much, but somewhere in the $2 to $3 range was about right.
Yeah,
Um,
they equalized it out.
yeah.
So you
By the
remember
way,
that
uh,
2000 when,
we're coming up on about an hour.
oh, well,
Uh,
look, we're going to cut that off then. Because according to podcasting gurus, if your podcast is longer and you're not Newt Gingrich or someone famous, you're losing your audience.
yeah,
So I like that. I like the way. Thank you so much for the technology. Thank you for the plugins, and thank you for helping me get this premiere done.
yeah.
And now I
Well,
can.
yeah. In the future, we probably need to try to get down to 30 minutes, because that
Yeah, yeah.
15 to 30 minutes that typically is what's going to work better for audiences. Um, and I'm
I'm gonna.
considering
Yeah,
I'm considering getting into more of this also, so might be able to have a better setup for you in the future. Uh,
yeah,
but with
yeah.
only a few
I
hours
was
to
told
throw something together, I think we did pretty good.
when you go to Pornhub.com that the average video is 4 minutes. 4 minutes because that's the only an average man can handle. Anyway, okay. Well, I thank you so much. Namaste, and I'll do I guess I'll do the dashboard and the analytics of the first premiere and send it to Google and call it
And
good.
we're hoping to do
Appreciate
this
it.
every week around 7 o'clock on Wednesday
Wednesday at 7 o'clock. It's my
Central.
prime time in my area.
Okay.
So once a week,
All
we're
right.
gonna do this, and we got a lot of surprises. Really, I'm gonna have those doctors here. I'm gonna have the nurse practitioners here, the dentists here, and they're gonna introduce themselves and introduce what they can do. So
All right.
we got that coming up.
All right.
Thank you very much, and see you Wednesday.
We'll see you next week.